Welcome, everyone. My name is Peggy Kurtz. Welcome to the monthly public meeting of Lower Hudson Group of Sierra Club. Lower Hudson Group includes Westchester, Rockland, Putnam, and parts of Orange County. So I know we're going through an incredibly disturbing time. I just want to say, I think we're going to be focusing today on specific actions. I know a friend said to me recently, how can we focus on the environment when so much is happening, such terrible things are happening day by day? And I think, those of us who are really aware about the environment, we really need to keep, keep that momentum of action. We really need to, you know, to stay focused. Yes, to protest. Yes, to do other kinds of actions also. But we're all aware, everybody who's here today, of the urgency of climate change and the crisis of biodiversity and extinctions. All these things continue to move ahead. So even though they're not getting the headlines that they should be getting, there's terrible things going on with this administration. Many of you may know that the EPA has proposed to no longer consider the impacts on human health of actions that they're reviewing. It's just crazy. So we need to stay focused. But what we're talking about here in our meetings are at the state and local level. And I'm going to give one example at the end of this meeting about an action where we won just a remarkable David and Goliath victory 10 years ago. It's we know that it is possible, even in crazy times like this, to get a lot done. So we're going to be speaking first about the pipelines. Um, and then after that, Jackie and maybe Marilyn are going to be um, speaking also briefly about a new campaign to get Governor Hochul to reverse her move toward nuclear power. And finally, we'll talk about the 10-year anniversary of the huge David and Goliath desalination victory. So I'm glad to introduce now Mary Finneran, who will be speaking to us about the pipelines. Why are we still needing to fight pipelines years after a ban on fracking in New York State and the 2019 law? Mary is a proud lifelong New Yorker currently living in the Hudson Valley. Her love of the countryside, hills, and waters of New York has led her to become very active environmental organizer, lobbyist, and volunteers for several groups, including Sierra Club. And she is currently running for office to become a state assemblyman member. Mary?
Hi. Well, you said it all, so now I can just go. No, I'd like to share the screen so I can
You should be able to.
okay. So, um let me find okay, so share. Um okay. Now let me find my thing. Okay. I'm going to diminish everybody but me, I guess.
Mary, can you make it into hit the thing to show.
I really need to keep it like this. I'm sorry to make it just one slide. Is
Yeah.
that okay like that?
There's a button to start the slideshow.
And I'm going to be controlling it. So I just really, if you don't mind,
Okay.
because this is something that will, because I have to click on things, I'm going to be opening up different parts of it. So to different sections, and I need to have the slides here. Um, it's just how I have to do it. If I'm very sorry if it's, can you all see this? Can you see my slide?
Yep. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so it's, I mean, I can do,
So It's okay, we can see.
Right, no, I know, I can do the, so so anyway, it's all one pipeline. What's going on in New York State in 2014, there was a ban against high volume hydrofracking, as you all know. It's only high volume hydrofracking. It's not low volume hydrofracking, and it's not vertical drilling, only high volume fracking. There are thousands of alive gas wells in New York State now. These pipelines are not affecting those, but I do think people need to know how many, and especially in Western New York, there's a lot of vertical wells and low volume wells. But New York is still being fracked. And when Peggy was saying, how can we talk about the environment when we've got all this stuff going on? Well, a lot of what's going on is due to the administration. These pipelines, I'm going to focus on 3 pipelines. I'm going to be talking about a couple of others just in passing. But the 3 pipelines that I'm going to talk about are the NESE, the Northeastern Supply Enhancement, the Iroquois Expansion Project, and the Constitution Pipeline. Those are the 3 I will be focusing on, and you will see how the 3 of them are very interconnected. First, let's take a look at where pipelines are. This is a great source. They haven't updated it for a couple of years, and it's a good thing because for my purposes. So the You Are Here map has all the gas infrastructure in New York.
We lost your screen.
You lost my screen?
I can see it.
You see it as you see your slides? I don't.
I see.
I can see it.
Okay. Maybe it's just me.
It's weird.
I can see it, but not all of it.
Well, you're not going to be able to see all of it.
Rolling.
Oh, it's fine.
I have to scroll. So I'm going to take out a bunch of stuff from this map. All of these little symbols represent certain things. So I'm taking out the fossil fuel plants. I'm taking out proposed compressor stations, controversial. I'm taking out a bunch of stuff. I'm just leaving in pipelines in New York State. Okay, it's a great thing. And this is, again, it's a couple of years old, and you will see some of these pipelines. And I am going to have to scroll around because it doesn't fit on the page as it is. I will make it a little bit bigger. Okay, so all of these blue and magenta lines are all pipelines, natural gas pipelines in New York State. And you'll see how some of them go down into Pennsylvania. Okay, these purple lines are what the Sane Energy and Frac Tracker called wins, and we should have won these. And the first one we're going to talk about, which was a win and is no longer a win, is the NESE pipeline. So I'll pull this up, and they have all kinds. New York State denied the Williams Transco the necessary pipe permit to proceed with construction of the NESE pipeline. Okay, so that's one the first one we're going to be talking about. I want to go back through and show you. Then we have the Constitution pipeline. They're calling it a win because we stopped it. This pipeline, 120-year-old pipeline, 120-mile pipeline, would have crossed over 253 stream crossings, rivers crossings, and we stopped it. It never broke. It broke ground, unfortunately, down in Pennsylvania because Pennsylvania granted it permission. But I'll get to that later. And Some other pipelines that you might want to know about. One that we actually did win, I think this is it, is the Northern Access Pipeline project. And we only won because the project, we had, and I think Gail was there on the day we found out that the DEC had denied the water permit. And then FERC told them that, no, too bad, you were too late. And so they granted the pipeline the permission to go. But the pipeline ran out of time and they actually just quit. The company doing it just said, well, we're not going to do it. So that was a win just by kind of attrition. Some other pipelines that we're going to be talking about, touching base on, are the Tennessee pipeline, which goes way across the state. This is part of the Tennessee. There's a Tennessee North, a Tennessee South. There's like several different Tennessee pipelines. And then there's also the Millennium Pipeline. The Millennium Pipeline, I'll just say here, because I'm not really going to be talking about it too much, but that's the pipeline that feeds the CPV power plant and the mini sink compressor station, which were really, the CPV power plant is one power plant that has never been granted a permit to operate. And it's been operating for over 5 years. It's actually due to be renewed if it had a permit, but it never had a permit. So that's something I would love to get into it another time, but I want to just focus on these three that are the most recent. So let me get out of here. Was that helpful for you people to see the network of all these pipelines?
Mm-hmm.
Good. So the first pipeline we're going to work, and this comes from the actual company map, is the NESE, which I showed you as a win, and it's not a win. We are stuck. I don't know when they're going to start building it, but New Jersey and New York have both granted the permits to allow this to start to be built. And you'll notice that it goes through the harbor, and it's going to be impacting a lot. I'm going to go. This is one place where the surf riders did such a good job with the information on it. I'm just using their website to go through this. And you see anybody you know there? You might. It was St. Energy Food and Water Watch. Actually, Sierra Club worked against this too. Back from the Dead, the zombie Williams NESE pipeline threatens. This was before they approved it, but it was 3 times this pipeline was denied. It's connected to, it goes right through the harbor, through areas that have really been rejuvenated, which have, new life, wildlife being returned. And it just gets very close to the rock arrays. It's 3.5 miles off of Middlesex County, 10 miles of pipeline in Lancaster County, a new compressor station. Why we are against this? Can you imagine any reasons why we'd be against it? Now, I want to say here, I didn't say before, the NESE pipeline and the Constitution pipeline were purportedly, the people are denying it. I think Hochul actually denied it, that this was allowed, was supposedly where Trump and Hochul had a backdoor deal where he would allow the 5 offshore wind projects that are in the works. Materials were there. He would allow those to continue if Hochul agreed to let the NESE and possibly the Constitution pipeline be built. So despite the fact that the NESE pipeline was denied 3 times their water permits, the they rubber stamped it with risks to human health and marine life. A leaked frack gas pipeline in the water is really bad. It undercuts state and city promises on climate. They have a very poor safety record. They've had explosions and fires. There is no need for this gas. And that's going to come up again and again. No need for this gas. And I believe that the reason they are pushing for this gas is purely for LNG export. It's not to provide gas for us. It's so that Trump can have the LNG export going to Europe, because they constantly were stopping, understandably, but Putin had control of the natural gas market in Europe. And now he wants to supplant it with our gas. So we pay for it. And the New York gas customers would foot the bill. If you have never been on a rate case with National Grid, they're very depressing, and you should probably get on it, because they have, all they care about is their shareholders, and any way they can get all of their projects paid for by the ratepayers, they do it. So the permit was rejected in 2018, in 2019, and in 2020. So 3 permits that they denied. I'm going back to so the Nessie, we don't want it, but we're stuck. I don't know when they're going to start it. I don't know what other actions people are doing. I don't know if they're going to try to stop construction somehow, but it's been permitted. So one thing about the Nessie pipeline, the Williams pipeline, was back in 2019, I think. It could have been 2020. But National Grid and Con Edison threatened to shut off people's gas. And if the Nessie pipeline wasn't allowed to go through, they said, we really need it, we have to go through it, and we're going to put a moratorium on people. Cuomo went nuts. Cuomo said, you can't do that. You have to find another option, another way to get the gas, because the Williams is getting shut down. It's not going to happen. So some of the other options were LNG barges. Isn't that a delightful thought? LNG trucking, another thing, bomb trucks, bomb barges. The Iroquois Pipeline Expansion Project, and the no infrastructure option, which they did very little of. But the heat pumps and energy efficiency and that they didn't really do it. I put this, so I'm going to be talking to you about the Iroquois Pipeline Expansion Project, which on January 8th, it was kind of a nightmare day for me, because first thing, I woke up to them having approved the go-ahead with the Constitution Pipeline. Not approved, but they had reopened the docket for FERC. And that night, I went to a public hearing, an online public hearing, about the Brookfield Compressor Station, which is in Connecticut, and it's part of the Iroquois Pipeline Expansion Project. And it's our last gas effort to stop this horrible expansion project. So I'll be going through the Iroquois pipeline. But first, and I know that Susanna Glidden knows well what a compressor station is and what the horrible results are. They're located about every 50 or 60 miles. I've seen them as close as 40 miles apart. And the compressor stations compress the gas to provide the energy to move it through the pipeline to the next station. And during normal operations, they emit a mixture of toxic chemicals. During a blowdown, which they say has to release the gas in order to keep it from building up too much. I think that's what it means. Then they release all kinds of toxins into the air. So the Iroquois expansion by compressor, a compression project, is one whereby they want to take the compressor stations and increase how much gas is going through the pipeline from the Athens compressor station down here, down into New York and New Jersey to the Brookfield. The Brookfield is the last one, and the Brookfield actually also compresses air for the Algonquin gas transmission. Notice I would like to be quoting for all Iroquois and for all Algonquin. It's disgusting that they, take such honorable names for such dishonorable projects. So the Iroquois is going to would take the compressor stations in Athens, in Dover, and in Brookfield, and in Milford, they're going to have to cool it because it's going to be getting so hot. So the cooling thing here, which I'm not even going to discuss, but the three compressor stations are going to be doubled about in size. The Athens is going from 10,000 horsepower to 22,000 horsepower. And when I first started looking at compressor stations back in 2011, 2012, 10,000 was huge. 22,000 was a very big compressor station. It's nothing now. The Dover compressor station is going from 18,000 to 30,000. And the Brookfield is going from 18,000 to 42,000 if the Connecticut DEEP, Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, doesn't stop it. And that will protect all of us, which was one of my major points. Brookfield, Connecticut benefits not a whit. The gas going through the Iroquois pipeline is geared for Long Island and New York City and has nothing to do with Connecticut. So they get just this whole poisoning thing going on. And I will go back towards the end to the You Are Here map so you can see that the Algonquin comes right through here too. So that's another place where it's all one pipeline because the gas from the Algonquin could be loading in the Iroquois. So right now, the Iroquois pipeline, am I going too fast? Am I going to, if anybody has any issues, let me know. But the Iroquois, the increase of the Iroquois pipeline is their maximum allowable operating pressure right now is 1,400. That's PSI. Okay. Right now, without increasing the compression, it's at about 600. So it's a little less than half of the operating pressure, which in a pipeline that is over 32 years old and got the second largest fine in EPA history for when they built the pipeline. It was built, where they dredged through streams, they never cleaned it up. And so they got a huge fine from the Clean Water Act. But another thing that they did is they laid the pipeline on large rocks and boulders even versus the gravel that they were supposed to lay them on. Now, the dredging, they mostly rectified. Some of the pipeline being laid, they rectified. But a lot of this, hundreds of mile-long pipeline is poorly placed on large rocks and stuff. And in the winter with heave, it's just there are accidents waiting to happen anyway. I'm surprised nothing has happened yet. But when they push through this gas, when they increase the gas from 600 PSI to 1200 psi, which is getting close to the maximum allowable pressure, that is when things happen. In Merrimack Valley in Massachusetts, there was a supply line. Now, that's just a supply line, so not a really large gas pipeline. That they had to shut it down, and when they turned it back on, they increased the pressure way too much, and it blew. And it blew, destroyed 40 houses and one young man's life. So I am concerned about what the Iroquois is doing. And the thing is, if they approve this pipeline, remember that it was one of the options to replace the Nessie. And now we're having it along with the Nessie. So National Grid and Con Ed are going, woohoo, they're getting double the gas coming through. And there's going to be more. But I want to show you just real close to where I live. I did a lot of presentations on the Iroquois, so I have a lot of these of my own. But they have, the Iroquois pipeline goes through here. Here's the Central Hudson supply line right here, right over here. This is CSX train tracks. This is all about 1/10 of a mile from the compressor station. When they increase the amount of gas going through this compressor station, I'm a little bit concerned about this overlap with the trains and 2 gas pipelines. Plus, it's very close. It's not very far from an elementary school. The pipeline actually cuts through to 1/10 of a mile from the elementary school, which is nothing like in Dover. In Dover, here's how close the Dover pipeline, the Iroquois pipeline, is to the Cricket Valley Energy Center. The Iroquois in Athens is also close to a power plant, but their power plant is up and down and back and forth, and probably, I don't think it's operational right now. But here is there's a school very close to this compressor station, a huge school. In Brookfield, the compressor station is 1,900 feet from the elementary school. The people in Brookfield are terrified. They're nearly tripling the size of their compressor station, or 2.5 times anyway. And what is going to happen when they push their pressure? And it's not just near the compressor stations. It could happen anywhere along the line, anywhere where the pipeline is weaker or on a bad lay. So here's the Great Swamp is right over here. The schools are right here, and here's the little compressor station. It's a beautiful little spot, beautiful bucolic area. How am I doing for time? Oh, I'm going a little. I'll move along. So here's some people in Athens fighting. I took this picture, fighting the Iroquois EXE. And what I want to point out next is the Constitution pipeline and how it's connected. So this is the proposed Constitution pipeline. The Iroquois, and here's the Tennessee gas pipeline I showed you before, and here's where the Iroquois pipeline comes through. Next way down the thing, just about here is where the Athens compressor station is, right where that little iron cross is like thing. So, which is kind of ironic calling it that, but so there's what's called the Wright Interconnect. And what's going on with FERC right now, besides them opening up the Constitution, is that they are opening up the Wright Interconnect. They want to increase the size of that compressor station so that the Iroquois can go through. I'm thinking one of the reasons they want to put in the Constitution is because since they are expanding the amount of gas going through the Iroquois, they want to get more gas going through there from the Wright Interconnect. So here we have definitely one pipeline. And connected to the Nessie, this was all not supposed to happen. So the Constitution pipeline, there's several different places where you can get information. And I'm going to open up some of these quickly because I'm taking more time than I meant. It's right now, the Constitution pipeline was vacated. The circuit court agreed that they were going to vacate it, which is a little bit different than Nessie. Nessie was never vacated. It's been vacated from FERC's orders. It's also instructed FERC to dismiss the agency's proceedings. That means it's not supposed to exist anymore. It's not supposed to be a zombie. It's supposed to have been cremated, basically. But they want to just put it back where they want to go back to where the original application was in 2012 and build it from that. So you will be getting these slides. You'll be getting the link to this, and I want to try to help you guys go through. If you haven't ever applied to FERC, I'm going to step through and go through the steps to go through FERC. So the no-frac gas, they did a kind of maybe a slightly easier way to follow how to get through the Constitution. The FERC dockets, this is not quite right, but I can get you the FERC dockets better later. I'm just going to go through and use this docket when I'm doing my thing.
Mary, maybe talk about like which ones dockets are open, which of the ones that you've been talking about.
The docket that's open is the Constitution pipeline. That's the one that I'm going to go through and tell people how to comment. The description, the pipeline would be 124 miles of a 30-inch diameter. There's different meter stations. I'm not going to go through. It's going to interconnect with the Tennessee Gas and with the Iroquois Gas at the Wright interconnect. So there's also a docket for the Wright interconnect. Again, so there's assertions that they say the project will deliver savings to consumers. That's just not true. The project is needed to improve reliability of natural gas and electric systems. It's not needed. In fact, there's a bit of a glut. The project would supply natural gas to electric generators, would facilitate conversion from heating oil to natural gas, which they're still trying to use that. It's the bridge from heating oil or the bridge from coal. And as we all know, it's 86 times as powerful as a greenhouse gas than coal or oil. Customers, existing pipelines, and landowners and other stakeholders would benefit, and the public benefits outweigh any potential adverse effects. It's just not true. There's in each one of these, there's different comments that you can use. In each one of these pages, they have it. So I'm going to say right now, what I'd like people to do is not, when you write a comment to FERC or to the DEC, make sure that the first couple of lines of your comment is unique, that you're not cutting and pasting other people's work at the beginning. Because what they've been doing is they take all of these comments that seem to be the same comment and they pile them into one comment. So they don't even read it. And a lot of times people will copy and then they'll say a whole bunch of stuff at the bottom and it doesn't get read. So you need to start out your comment with something individual. I live in the lower Hudson Valley. I know I don't live near the Constitution pipeline, but air knows no borders. The Constitution pipeline will be affecting the Iroquois pipeline, which does come close to me. I mean, anything that makes it yours, and then you can cut and paste from whatever anybody else says. But I'm going to, for those people who have never done it before, I'm actually going to show you how you create a
And Mary, also tell people where they can find talking points.
Well, you can find talking points at the two websites that I pointed you to, but remember, this was January 8th that it came out. It's only the 19th. There haven't been a lot of talking points created, but they are there on the Stop the Constitution Pipeline listserv and on the No Frack Gas in Pennsylvania listserv. So you can find comments there, but again, be sure to try to make things your own. So when you get to the FERC.gov website, if you have never been there, I can't log on. I mean, I can't create an account because I already have one, but you can go to FERC online and you can e-register. So you can register with FERC. I'm going to log in. Unauthorized use is prohibited. So here is the and you have different options. You can just e-file. You can e-subscribe. So you can subscribe to a certain docket, or you can subscribe to have all the FERC notices if you want. I've gotten so many subscriptions. I get a lot of FERC notices. Don't always read them, but it's good because you get the notices. Like, for example, I get a notice every month that the Iroquois hasn't done anything with this project yet because all the paperwork isn't in place. So it's a good place to know. And then once you get that notice that they say we're breaking ground, then you know we're kind of screwed. I feel like, pardon the expression. So I am going to show you, I'm clicking on e-comment, and you see that everything is already here. I've already written 2 comments, so I'm not real sure what I'm going to say this time. But if you noticed, I cut and pasted the docket. Now, this is where it gets tricky. So when you get the docket number, you get the docket number of whatever you want, and you can put in 2 dockets. And there are 2 dockets for this. There's the one for the Iroquois, but I'm just going to put this one in. So you put the one about the right compressor station. So I'm going to hit search, and then you'll say that that's this. This is what's important, and this is what a lot of people don't understand. They say, well, no dockets have been selected, but I hit search. You have to select. You have to go to that little blue plus sign and hit select. Now I can comment about the Constitution Pipeline. Maybe I won't this time, but you just can type in, you are nuts. You can type in whatever you want. This pipeline should not be. This pipeline was vacated before, and it should not be reconstituted, which is, I love that. That's a no frack gas in Massachusetts way of calling it. Does this help for you to see my going through these steps? Because I had all kinds of directions, and I do have the No Frack Gas in Massachusetts has directions on how to get into FERC. I'm not going to file a comment. Well, maybe I should say something. Please, once again, extend the time period for comments. Especially because landowners, that should have been a period, but landowners don't have time to understand what the repercussions might be. Whatever you want. So I don't care if FERC gets this silly little statement from me, because it's true. You have up to 10,000 characters, which is pretty significant. And then send a comment. Now I will get a confirmation that I sent the comment. I will you know, and you will get a confirmation that you got it. Are there any, I'm going to go back again because I went through this, and now that you've heard about a lot of these, I can go back through and show you the pipelines that we talked about and how they are interconnected and how this is all one pipeline. I don't know if they're going to have everything back on here where I'm going to, they are. So I'm going to I'll leave winds because if I took out the winds, we'd lose the Nessie and we'd lose a Constitution because they're in as winds. So I have to leave them here. So you can find them really pretty quickly. The Nessie is right here. The well, this is Pennsylvania. Let's get out of Pennsylvania. The Constitution is right here. So just to explain where it is, because I don't think I did that before. This is the Catskill Mountains. This is what's typically called the Leatherstocking region and the Great Northern Catskills. So that's the Constitution, and right here is the Iroquois and where it crosses and connects to the Constitution. And remember, the purpose for the expansion of the Iroquois was to replace the gas from Nessie. So they've got the Iroquois gas that might be going through, hopefully not. The Nessie, which would be going through, and then Constitution would be supplanting the Iroquois, all to go down to New York City to National Grid territory, or National Grid as I like to call them. Can I close out, or do you want me to leave this up, or? I'm going to stop sharing. You guys anybody have any questions?
You should be able to raise your hands to ask questions.
Okay.
Gail?
Yeah.
So can you just explain again about what the comment period is for the Constitution? Like you said, it just started a few days or the 9th or something, but is there a deadline or?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I'd mentioned that. It's the 29th of January.
Oh, okay. That's
Very, very short. That's why, I mean, you know, we and if people can just go through and put in a comment, because numbers of comments do make something of a difference.
yeah.
The FERC is called the Rubber Stamping Regulatory Agency, and with Trump wanting this, it's like Bill Robbins, it's foolish to make deals with Trump because he never keeps his side of the bargain. And if Hochul did make a deal to keep the wind projects going, they stopped them for national security reasons. What, is a plane going to run into them? What about the national security for nuclear plants or anything like that? He doesn't worry about that. I'd be much more worried. So yes, January 29th is the deadline.
Okay. And if, like, I've submitted comments to FERC before, would I have registered for an account or could I submit them without? Because I don't remember if I have an account with FERC, but I guess I could go back to the
You
things I
can
got.
go to the page and go to login,
Yeah.
and you can click forgot password if you don't remember what your password is. I have a standard pattern I use for things like that, and then if you don't, then you'll just re-register.
Okay, thanks. That was helpful that you showed how to get the docket because that's where I always get confused and some of them have several dockets. So thank you.
Yeah. And you can only do 2 dockets at a time.
Right.
So if there's like, let's say there are like a lot of complications, you'd have to do the other docket separately. Thanks, Gail. Good questions. And I'm really glad you asked about the deadline. I'm sorry I missed that. either I did a horrible job and people don't even know what to ask, or Jackie, go ahead.
Hi,
I have a question too.
thanks, Mary. Um, so is it possible that you could send Peggy or me or someone these docket numbers so that we have less confusion on, like, this is the docket number for the Constitution. This is the docket number for,
Well,
no? Yeah.
yes, but this is the only docket we have that we can work on now.
Okay, so but if you could send the actual docket number, and for the pipeline, is it the Constitution pipeline then that you're saying is open right now?
The
That needs comments
Constitution
by the
pipeline.
29th? Okay, so
Yep.
if you could just send that information,
I
that would
just
be
put
really
the
helpful.
main one in the chat, and I'll look up the other one, and I will email it to Peg, and so she can share it.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Can you talk a little bit about the Algonquin pipeline expansion? What's the status of that pipeline?
Well, the maple, I mean, they called it the maple for a while. Actually, Jackie could probably talk better about that. The Algonquin,
And maybe somebody, either of you, explain about the proximity to Indian Point, etc.
oh
For
yeah, well, the
folks who might
Algonquin
not be-
crossed under, do you have your hand raised, or is it,
Oh,
legacy?
no, I'll take it down.
Thank you. So the Algonquin crosses right underneath the area that, where the, I forget what it's called, the power plant that keeps the Indian Point going. So it's a little separate. And Nancy, you can tell me more, but where is it exactly?
It goes 105 feet from the switch yard
That's it.
and about 90 feet from the backup generators. There are, in case the power goes out and went out, they don't need to cool the plant anymore because it's being decommissioned. But if the power had gone out and they had lost the cooling, then they would have a backup generator, and it went within about 100 feet of each of those safety issues at Indian Point. But there's 3 pipelines. There's 3 different lines of the same Algonquin pipeline, a 24-inch, a 32-inch, and then this latest 42-inch high-pressure line. And they say they're going to increase the pressure on it while they're still decommissioning Indian Point. So they're running around with bulldozers and backhoes and tearing down radioactive stuff. And they've got all of the spent fuel is all stored there in fairly flimsy casks and canisters. So let's hope we don't have a pipeline explosion.
Oh my God.
It's really
Especially where you are, Nancy. The Algonquin, as I think I pointed out, it does connect. Let's call it the AIM, because just saying Algonquin is it's connects at Brookfield, as does the Iroquois. So it's kind of like these pipelines that double connect, and you don't know. And so they can shift the gas. They could say that the gas from the AIM is going to Massachusetts, but they could actually make it go into the Iroquois if they wanted. They can switch all of these different things with the compressor stations. And it was the 42-inch that the people crawled into, wasn't it, Nancy, when they were trying to stop it? Yeah. That was
So you have
great.
you have a couple of other questions. I mean, I think the Algonquin should be such an issue for all of us, but so you have 2 questions in the chat. One is, so is it too late for Nessie? And the other one is, I heard Indian Point was shut down for good a few years ago. So maybe
It was, the Indian Point was shut down, but they have to decommission it. They have to clean it up. And there's some who would say they'd like to bring it back, which I don't think is going to happen.
yeah,
They,
but the
they
power.
say they want to put small modular reactors and a data center there, but it's very unlikely they'd be able to do that because of agreements that were made when it shut down.
It's so sad. And is it too late for Nessie? Legally, yes. I mean, they've gotten all their permits. They can break ground or break water, I guess, in this case.
They can
And
break, they can break wind
they can break wind. They already did break the wind, Jackie.
and gas.
Do you have your hand up again?
Jackie, do
Yeah,
you have?
yeah, I did want to just say regarding the Project Maple, which is part of the the one that goes to Indian Point. I'm sorry,
The Algonquin, the
yeah,
AIM.
the is it called that?
Yeah.
Anyway, here in Rockland, we did manage to get a resolution. Rockland County did sign a resolution against the expansion of that pipeline and against having the pressure stations be expanded too through Rockland County. So a lot of I think there were 13 different municipalities in Rockland and Westchester. There were a lot of different municipalities that really said no to this, and I think it helped stop that expansion. So I just wanted to add that in. And
I-
thanks to Susan Van Dulsen and Susanna Glidden for their help fact checking me.
That's
Welcome. Good job, Jackie.
Yes, very good job. Thank you, Jackie. That was a good stop. Um,
yeah,
and
that's amazing.
the-
Seriously.
So I just have to say that Food and Water Watch also really did help too. So that they're a great asset for all of us with these things.
um,
Other questions for Mary?
I hope I met your expectations. I hope I satisfied some information for you guys. Oh, thank you, George. You're the um
I certainly learned. I definitely learned from it.
good. Thank you. Um, and yes, there's so many more. The Algonquin, I should have boned up on that in the maple, but thank you so much for being here,
Yeah.
Jackie and Nancy.
You know,
That's
I just want to say, going back to that whole issue of the glut, that there is apparently a glut of natural gas. So it's kind of incredible that they're still continuing to build out more capacity and, in the face of a glut that,
which is what makes me think because there isn't a glut in Europe. And they are trying to continue, but Europe is going really doing much better than we are regarding renewables. I mean, Germany is getting all the balcony solar and all of these people are doing all kinds of stuff. And I think he's pushing to get the LNG. I'm hoping Ireland is still blocking it from coming in. I'm not sure. I haven't kept up on that, but I think that it's all for export. So, Jackie, if your hand is still up, and if not, Susanna has hers up. Thank you.
and then maybe we should go.
I think, I think you're right, Mary, about export. But of course, the overbuild of these data centers that gobble up all the electricity has to be generated by something.
That's
So
true.
I think it could well be this terrible, terrible thing about data centers.
That's a really good point, Susanna.
Yeah, it's a
Really
very
good point.
Very good point. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for inviting.
Thank you so much, Mary. This was great. We wish you a lot of luck in the race
Thank you.
and keep us posted on that.
Okay, well, thank you. I'm going to stay on for a little bit because
Okay.
I want to hear what Jackie and Jackie, Susan Van Dolson,
And Marilyn, yeah.
and Marilyn were all on the outreach thing for this facts of facts thing. So I'm going to hear how Jackie's going to do the thing. So thank you.
Okay, Jackie?
Okay. So I'll be brief. I just wanted to say that Nancy Van, Susan Van Dulsen, Mary Finneran, Marilyn Ellie, Iris, I'm not sure of Iris's last name. There were a lot of us who went up to the state to lobby against Governor Hochul's plan on nuclear energy. And so we all had various parts. There was a lot of flyering. We had tons of half-page flyers to hand out, and Susan Shapiro's postcards, and just lots of wonderful things to hand out to people. And then there was a group of us that included Nancy. I don't have the list in front of me. It was Nancy and Catherine Skopik and myself, and this lady from Georgia who came to tell the cautionary tale to all of the legislators about the Vogtle plant in Georgia, which came in at $36 billion. And so I just wanted to say, we met with so many legislators, and they are quite appalled and aghast at what is going on. Governor Hochul is fast tracking 6 nuclear reactors. That could be 10 billion each, or maybe 20 billion each. I don't know. And then she wants to extend the life of 4 reactors up in Oswego in Wayne County. And the PSC has approved up to a $33 billion ratepayer and taxpayer subsidy to go until mid-century to 2049. This is before we've even paid off the $7.5 billion from Cuomo's bailout. And so anyway, we met with legislators. We had great meetings, and there'll be more meetings. And everyone was amazing at flyering, and it was great to see everyone. What we're doing, we are with Alliance for Nuclear Free New York, and Susan Van Dulsen and myself and Mary and Marilyn Ellie and Michelle Lee. There's a lot of us that have put together something called Facts to Governor Hochul on nuclear energy. And the first page is basically 6 points about why it's so bad. And then each week we will be breaking down each point into its own page. Now, this is a fax without using a fax machine. You use your computer or your iPhone, your smartphone, to do this with a company that it's free and it's easy, and even I can do it. Yeah, we can all do it. Unfortunately, there's a little glitch right at the moment that we're still trying to work out. And George Klein very graciously is helping to reboot the nuclear page, and we'll be adding this in. So maybe not for this week, obviously, maybe for next week or the week after, it will actually be up on the Lower Hudson group, which would be phenomenal. I would really encourage everyone to do this, because the thing is, when you call the governor, the calls get counted, but they don't get relayed to the governor, the messages really. And if you speak to a person, they might get relayed, but not necessarily. However, a letter or a fax must be delivered to the governor. That's kind of the law. And so we want to really flood the governor's office every Monday with faxes about nuclear energy and how she is totally misguided. That's it.
Okay, great. So just to sum up, so we will be sending out an email to everybody about this. And as often as you can send it, you can sort of use your own points also.
Yeah, you can add to it.
There will be information posted on the Lower Hudson Group website, which you can reach just by Googling Lower Hudson Sierra Club, and that'll bring you to the website. Marilyn or anybody else, did anybody else want to add to that about Governor Hochul's turn toward nuclear?
I think, Jackie, I think you covered it very well, and it's very, very easy. It takes maybe a minute and a half once you get through it. I just say make sure you copy the points before you go on the website. That makes it even easier, so you don't have to go back and forth. You just paste them into the body of the fax that is there. But I really want to take a minute to say and acknowledge.
Marilyn, there's something, at least for me, there's something funky about the sound.
Oh, is this any better?
For me too, it sounds very growly. Your voice is like.
You have 2 things on.
That's
No, I
what-
don't.
you have it on the phone.
We're
Okay.
getting an
No.
echo, Marilyn. We're getting an echo like on the convergence.
Yeah,
We'll
maybe
try.
if you have a phone on, go ahead, say
No,
something.
it is on my phone. I don't have anything else on.
All right, well, we
Can you understand me at all?
We can.
So
Well,
I
this
guess
is the,
go for it.
for some reason, I don't know what the problem is.
What's the point you're making?
I'm going to go ahead and make the point that I think is something that's not on our agenda today, but is very important. And that is acknowledging that this is Dr. Martin Luther King Day. And what, it's so easy to just fluff it off because he's acknowledged as in some circles as a hero, and all of the very similar things that he did are brought up over and over again. But today on the Brian Lear show, I heard such an excellent historian talk about his life. The book is out and it has a lot of new information in it, and it really made him a human, which you don't often hear about his affairs, and what his wife said. Well, it was just something among the many other things that she had to accept, and how his friends had talked to him about not doing that because the FBI was using it against him, and how he said, "Oh, I can't help it. I can't stop." And that was just one small part that you don't normally hear about Martin Luther King, the man. And just all of these things, it really brought him to life for me. And what I was very impressed with was his words about the Vietnam War and how our government was misguided and what we needed to do about that. He was much more grounded in, I'm going to say, philosophy than most Baptist preachers were. And he brought that to what he was thinking. And what a loss we had with him. I was reminded all over again what a brilliant person he was. And hearing about his life really touched my heart very deeply. I put the link in the chat. It's well worth listening to, and I hope some people will follow up on that. That's
Marilyn,
all.
thank you very much for reminding us and bringing us back to Martin Luther King. Yes, I mean, I think all of us are old enough to really have felt that loss, but thank you very much for that. And
Are you in a
Mary,
conversation or?
Mary, and then Jackie.
First, I want to say, Jackie, you did a great job of explaining it. Thank you. But I want to say something I heard today about Hochul and nuclear is that in her budget, she's asking for propaganda on nuclear to go through K through 12 in the schools, that they want to promote nuclear in the schools and get the kids going. And that just, as a teacher especially, it's like, anyway, that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you. That's horrible. Jackie?
Yeah, I heard about that too. It's also like part of the Department of Energy's plan to they're fueling schools to build up, to get engineers and students involved in nuclear energy, and they're spending billions of dollars on this. I wanted to say I was at a dinner back in November where the author of this book that's called King of Life that Marilyn was talking about, he was the keynote speaker, and he gave everyone a copy of his book at that dinner. And to hear him today also on the radio was just phenomenal. And I have to say that this book, unlike so many books about history, it's very personal. It's really something to read. It really, really is. So thank you, Marilyn, for bringing it up.
Oh, I just want to add one short thing. There's a lot of new information that has been released because of time constraints and everything else. A lot of newest stuff has come out. So it's not a rehash of old information. It's new information that this author has put together in a very compelling way.
It sounds great. I know I'll definitely listen to the interview and maybe look for the book. It sounds great.
The lady who was interviewing, I cannot remember her name. It was 2 hours. She was phenomenal and he was phenomenal. So, yeah.
There was another interview that I heard today of a Black author named Heather McGee, and I found her very moving about Martin Luther King and related topics.
Mhm. That was really a tragedy, but losing him. Yeah. Um, we need people like this more than ever now. It's really terrible. So I thought I would just wrap up the meeting by just very briefly kind of mentioning that we just had the 10-year anniversary, just celebrated the 10-year anniversary of the big desalination victory. Some of you kind of were around for that, some of you not, maybe. But in 2007 is really a very, very remarkable victory. Matter of fact, we worked very, very closely with lawyers from Riverkeeper, Scenic Hudson. Thank you for all of that. Scenic Hudson, Clearwater, Manajoe Green was part of it. Food and Water Watch was very much a part of it, also Sierra Club Atlantic chapter. Some major groups, and we've heard over and over again from professionals who are working on these cases that this was why Paul Gallet, who's the former, I think, president or CEO of Riverkeeper, that it was one of the highlights of their professional careers working on this case and winning, because it was just such a remarkable David and Goliath victory. So just briefly for anybody who doesn't know, I'll keep it really short. Suez, which was the second largest water company in the world at that time, proposed a desalination plant for Rockland County's drinking water. There were sort of several major problems with it. I don't know, I guess about four of them. First of all, it would have been sited, the intake for the plant would have been sited 3.5 miles downstream from Indian Point. The finished water would have included trace amounts of radioactive byproducts from Indian Point that had been leaking into the river. It was also desalination is the most energy intensive water source, the most expensive water source. It would have had negative impacts on irreplaceable habitat in the Hudson River that was like officially rated irreplaceable habitat. So, it took years of work to defeat this. I really want to thank everybody who's here who worked on that. I'm looking at Jackie, Jossie, George, others. We put so much work into it. It was like more than like a full-time job. And it was showing up for hearings. We had, just to give you a couple of, the DEC hearings in 2012, the cars couldn't get into the parking lot. The people couldn't get into the room. It was just, the hearings were packed. In 2013, the PSC held 2 nights of hearings back to back. We turned out over 1,600 people for those hearings. It's pretty amazing. Over 1,768, something like that, public comments to the PSC. I'm sorry, Terry was also very much a part of that, and Martis, of course. And it was really like the combination of people coming out, writing like over and over again, all of that work, but also, of course, the professional groups that I just listed, the environmental, the public, the elected officials such as Harriet Cornell and Ellen Jaffe and Ken Zabrowski. And then in 2015, the Public Service Commission made this remarkable ruling, reversing 8 years of decisions. By that point, so I really give a lot of credit to the woman who was the chair of the PSC at that time, Public Service Commission, Audrey Zibelman. It must have taken a lot of courage, political courage, to reverse 8 years of decisions. By that point, the company had spent $62.4 million in terms of engineering and lawyers and lobbyists and the works. 62.8, despite the fact that the plant never broke ground. So, I just want to say that, it's like that we can still get things done, even when it's just a disaster at the federal level. We can still get things done at the local and even at the state level. I just want to mention also that it was an enormously empowering experience. For me, it was one of the most empowering experiences of my lifetime, and I think for others, which is why so many people told us that this was, if I can, I'm just going to tell you one funny short story that people at the reunion heard me say this. We had a reunion recently, and the geologist whose work we based a lot of our stuff on, his information, he came from, I don't know, upstate New York, like Troy or something in the Troy area. If somebody came from Massachusetts, it was great. And I told this story. There was somebody who worked with us who he was an attorney. At that point, he was working for the Department of New York State Department of State, something called the Utility Intervention Unit. And it came out over time that he had previously worked at the Department of Public Service, which is the staff of the Public Service Commission. He had been an attorney there. And at some point when he was at the Department of State, somebody said, "What do you think about this case that's now before the commission with a desalination proposal?" And his immediate reaction was, what idiot signed this one? And of course, a few of you who were at the reunion know the end of the story. And he flipped through to find the signature on it, and it was his own signature looking at it. So he said he just resolved. He said it made him sick to his stomach when he saw it. And he thought, "Oh my God, I've got to do something to reverse this." So he put in he was one of the people. He had a long career. He's still working for AARP. I mean, he's had a remarkable career. And he was one of the people who said this was one of the highlights of his career because it was, just such a remarkable victory. So never give up. Any other questions, comments, or complaints? It's 8:17. We try to end in an hour and 15 minutes. Anything else?
I'll reinforce your point about never giving up. One of the good government initiatives that the Atlantic chapter of the Sierra Club works on is election reform. And we work with small election reform groups to make changes in the law to make New York State elections more transparent and more secure. And right now we're trying to save hand-marked paper ballots, which are the way everyone in New York simply assumes that's just the way we vote. Well, it turns out that there's a threat to that from machines, from new voting machines. And so we've been working for years to save hand-marked paper ballots. And we have some good news, but I'm going to make this a cliffhanger. I'm not quite allowed to release the particular news, but I'll announce it next month when it'll be public. But persistence pays off.
George, I'm going to call you when this meeting is over.
I can't wait a month, Peggy.
Well, we've been working, because in Rockland County, we're working to meet with Pat Carroll, our assemblyman, to pass legislation that would enshrine in law the right to a hand-marked paper ballot, which obviously can be used for recount. So, yeah, this is information we need, George.
Stay tuned.
Okay. All right.